The fluorescent light of the bathroom is unforgiving. It always is. I stand on the scale, the cold plastic digging into the soles of my feet, and I don't even need to look down to know it's going to be bad. I can feel it in the way my jeans cut into my stomach, the way my arms press uncomfortably against my sides. The numbers flash, bright and cruel. 215. Tears, hot and familiar, spring to my eyes, blurring the damning digits. 32 years old, and this is what I've become. A number on a scale that dictates every waking thought. My phone buzzes on the counter, a sharp, insistent sound that makes me jump. It's Vanessa. Of course, it's Vanessa. Hey girl, last chance for the early bird discount on the Revolution Fit Summer Shred. You have to join this time. It's life-changing. XOXO. Another invitation, another reminder of everything I'm not. Revolution Fit, the trendy fitness program she's been hounding me about for months. It's everywhere. My social media feed is a minefield of their success stories. Targeted ads promising miracle transformations, sleek bodies in expensive activewear, and before and after pictures that feel like a personal attack. Former friends, women I went to high school with, now flaunt their toned abs and sculpted arms, tagging #RevolutionFit #fitness goals #no excuses. And then there are the ghosts of my own past, pictures of me from 10 years ago, a thinner, happier version I barely recognize, popping up as memories, as if I needed the reminder. I scroll through the comments on my latest Instagram post, a carefully angled selfie where I thought, for a fleeting moment, I looked okay. Someone, a stranger with a blank profile picture, had commented, "Maybe you should try losing weight before posting pics." Just like that, no preamble, no kindness. Just a casual stab in the dark that found its mark with sickening precision. I look up, force myself to meet my own gaze in the mirror. The woman staring back is a stranger. Her eyes puffy and red. Her face pale and tired. There's a deep, burning hatred coiling in my chest. A venomous thing I've nurtured for years, directed solely at myself. For every failed diet, every pound gained, every judgmental glance I've endured. Suddenly, a sharp, searing pain shoots through my left arm, radiating up into my shoulder and jaw. It's like nothing I've ever felt before, intense and terrifying. My breath catches in my throat. The bathroom walls seem to tilt and sway. Darkness creeps in at the edges of my vision, a cold, enveloping blackness. My last conscious thought isn't of my job or my family or even the pain. It's a whisper of pure, unadulterated regret. All the living I never did because I was waiting to be thin enough to deserve it. Before the heart attack, before the bathroom floor rushed up to meet me, my life was a series of quiet humiliations and unspoken disappointments. I was, by all accounts, a talented marketing executive. At Mindstream Media, one of the city's top agencies, I consistently delivered. My campaigns were innovative, my strategies sound. I poured everything I had into my work, hoping that sheer competence would be enough. It rarely was. Promotions always seemed to go to colleagues who were sleeker, more on brand, as my boss, Cassandra, liked to say. Cassandra, with her rail-thin physique, maintained by a punishing schedule of spin classes and green juices, never missed an opportunity to make not-so-subtle comments about company image and representing the brand properly. She'd say it while looking pointedly at my midsection during team meetings or when discussing client-facing roles. The implication was always clear. I didn't fit the mold. I wasn't the image Mindstream wanted to project. It wasn't just at work. The criticism was a constant hum in the background of my life. My mother, bless her heart, thought she was helping. Every phone call, every visit inevitably circled back to my weight. "Olivia, darling, are you watching what you eat? You know, your cousin Sarah lost 20 pounds on that new keto thing?" Or, "That dress would be so much more flattering if you just shed a few pounds, honey." Each comment, delivered with a saccharine smile, chipped away at what little self-esteem I had. Then there was David, my ex-boyfriend. He'd been kind, or so I thought, until he wasn't. He left me for Sarah, my friend from yoga, the one who was always talking about her macros and her Peloton milestones. Sarah, who was everything I wasn't, lean, bubbly, and fitness obsessed. David's parting words still echoed in my ears. I just need someone who takes care of themselves, Liv. Someone who's healthier. Healthier, the universal code for thinner. And looming over it all, a constant, glittering reminder of my perceived failures, was Revolution Fit, the billion-dollar fitness empire. Who founded this behemoth of body shaming disguised as wellness? None other than Maya Wilson and Ethan Reynolds. Maya, the former head cheerleader from my high school, all sunshine and perfect ponytails, who once accidentally tripped me in the cafeteria, sending my lunch tray flying. Ethan, the star quarterback, handsome and adored, who'd laughed along with her. They were the golden couple then, and they were the golden couple now. Their perfectly sculpted bodies and dazzling smiles plastered on billboards, magazine covers, and endless social media ads. And I'd poured thousands of dollars I didn't have into their programs over the years: the 21-day shred, the 6-week transformation, the New Year, New You challenge. Each one started with a surge of desperate hope and ended in crushing defeat. I'd follow the restrictive meal plans, force myself through the punishing workouts, only to see minimal results or worse, regain any weight I'd lost the moment the program ended. And every single time I blamed myself, my lack of willpower, my weak character, my inability to just try harder. It never occurred to me, not really, that maybe the programs themselves were the problem. The impossible standards, the one-size-fits-all approach, the predatory marketing that preyed on insecurity and promised salvation in a smaller dress size. Revolution Fit wasn't just a fitness company. It was a constant, insidious reminder of how I'd failed, not just at losing weight, but at being the kind of person who could lose weight, the kind of person who deserved to be happy. I blinked, my eyes struggling to focus. The first thing I registered was the rhythmic beeping, steady and insistent. Then the sterile smell of antiseptic and the starchy feel of sheets against my skin. Hospital. My arm throbbed, a dull, persistent ache now, a shadow of the blinding pain that had consumed me. A doctor, a kind-faced woman with tired eyes, explained it gently. A myocardial infarction, a heart attack, at 32. You're lucky, she said. We caught it in time, but you need to make some serious lifestyle changes, Olivia. Diet, exercise, stress management. Lifestyle changes. It sounded so simple, so clinical. My mother arrived a few hours later, her face a mask of strained concern that quickly crumbled into familiar criticism. Olivia, how could you let this happen? All that weight. I've been telling you for years. You did this to yourself. There it was. Not, are you okay? Not, I was so worried. Just blame. I closed my eyes, the beeping of the monitor suddenly deafening. Even a heart attack wasn't enough to earn me a reprieve from the judgment. Later, my work phone, which someone had thoughtfully placed on my bedside table, rang. It was Cassandra. Olivia, so listen, obviously this is inconvenient timing, she began, her voice brisk and devoid of any genuine warmth. The Miller pitch is next week, and we really need all hands on deck. Any idea when you might be back in action? Not how are you feeling? Not take all the time you need. Just concern for the team's inconvenience. I mumbled something noncommittal and ended the call, a bitter taste in my mouth. Alone again, I picked up my personal phone. Habit, more than anything, led me to scroll through Instagram. And there it was. An ad for Revolution Fit. Maya and Ethan, tanned and gleaming, their smiles impossibly white against a backdrop of a pristine beach. Transform your life in just 12 weeks. Our new app gives you everything you need: personalized meal plans, killer workouts, and a supportive community. Transformation or your money back. The app was of $49.99 a month. $49.99 to feel like a failure all over again. Something inside me, something that had been slowly cracking for years, finally snapped. It wasn't a dramatic explosion, more like a quiet, decisive click. I stared at the ad, at Maya's perfectly airbrushed face, at Ethan's sculpted biceps, and I felt nothing. Not envy, not shame, not even anger. Just a profound, bone-deep weariness. And then, a tiny spark of something new, defiance. If I survived this, if I walked out of this hospital, I was done. Done hating myself. Done chasing a version of me that probably never existed. Done letting other people's expectations, other people's unattainable standards dictate my worth. The doctors said lifestyle changes. Fine. My first lifestyle change would be to stop torturing myself in the name of a number on a scale or the approval of people who didn't truly care about me. That night, as I drifted in and out of a restless, medication-induced sleep, I whispered the words into the sterile darkness of the hospital room, a prayer to no one in particular. I wish I could start over with what I know now. The beeping of the heart monitor beside me seemed to falter, to skip a beat. Then, silence. A long, unwavering, flat line. A gasp tore from my throat, raw and desperate, as if I'd been holding my breath for an eternity. My eyes flew open. I wasn't in a hospital. The sterile smell was gone, replaced by the familiar scent of cheap lavender laundry detergent and stale pizza. Sunlight, bright and intrusive, streamed through a gap in worn floral curtains. I was in a bed, but not a hospital bed. This was my bed, my old bed, in my college apartment. I sat bolt upright, my heart hammering against my ribs, not with pain, but with a wild, disbelieving confusion. My hand flew to my chest. No ache, no lingering throb in my arm. I looked down at my body, smaller. Definitely smaller. My hands, they looked younger, smoother. I scrambled out of bed, my legs shaky, and stumbled towards the full-length mirror propped against the opposite wall. The woman staring back at me wasn't 32. She was 22, 10 years younger. Her face was fuller, less lined by worry, her eyes wide and startled. This was me on the cusp of everything. I recognized the faded band t-shirt I was wearing, a relic from sophomore year. Beside my bed, on the cluttered nightstand, was a thick envelope with the Mindstream Media logo. My acceptance letter, my first real job offer. My hand, trembling, reached for my phone, an ancient-looking smartphone by my 2025 standards. I pressed the home button. The date glared back at me. May 17th, 2015. Graduation day. A second chance. I touched my face, my reflection mimicking the movement. Tears welled, but this time they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of shock, of disbelief, of a fragile, burgeoning hope. Then, a laugh bubbled up, hysterical and unrestrained. I was alive, I was young again. I had a do-over. The sheer impossibility of it was overwhelming. A sharp knock on the door. "Liv, you okay in there? You're making some weird noises." Vanessa, my college roommate, before Revolution Fit, before the judgment and the slow, painful drifting apart of our friendship. I threw open the door. There she was, hair still damp from the shower, a concerned frown on her face. Not yet the sculpted fitness zealot she would become, just Ness, my friend. I did the only thing that felt real in that moment. I threw my arms around her, hugging her tightly, burying my face in her shoulder, inhaling the scent of her coconut shampoo. She stiffened in surprise, then awkwardly patted my back. "Whoa, okay. Big day, huh? Graduation jitters?" I pulled back, grinning like a lunatic, tears still streaming down my face. "Something like that, Ness. Something exactly like that." She eyed me warily. "Right, well, snap out of it. Graduation is in like 2 hours. And don't forget, those popular kids are having that massive party tonight. Maya Wilson and Ethan Reynolds. Apparently, it's going to be epic. Maya and Ethan." My mind, still reeling, snagged on their names. They hadn't launched Revolution Fit yet. They were just popular kids throwing a party. The pieces began to click into place, a dizzying array of possibilities swirling in my head. This time, I knew what was coming. I knew their playbook. I knew the pain they would inflict, the insecurities they would exploit, and this time, I had a plan. Or at least the beginnings of one. The future wasn't written in stone, not anymore. The week following graduation was a blur, but not of parties and celebrations like it should have been for a 22-year-old. Instead, I was a woman possessed, glued to my laptop in the cramped apartment I still shared with Vanessa, who was starting to look at me with a mixture of concern and annoyance. While she was out celebrating the end of college and the beginning of real life, I was diving deep. I was researching. With the clarity of hindsight and the sting of future experience, I dissected the fitness industry. It was like seeing a magic trick after someone had explained the sleight of hand. The predatory marketing tactics jumped out at me. The limited time offers designed to create false urgency, the testimonials from people who were probably paid or whose results were atypical, the shaming language disguised as motivation. Revolution Fit, in its future incarnation, was a masterclass in this. I could see exactly how they built their empire, not on a foundation of genuine health, but on a carefully constructed edifice of insecurity and aspirational branding. They didn't sell fitness, they sold the promise of belonging, of attractiveness, of a better life that was always just out of reach, always requiring another program, another product. But my research didn't stop at their manipulative strategies. I delved into genuine health science, the kind that wasn't trying to sell me a protein powder or a restrictive diet plan. I devoured articles and studies on metabolic adaptation, the way our bodies fight back against weight loss by slowing down our metabolism. I learned about weight set point theory, the idea that our bodies have a weight range they're comfortable in and will try to maintain. I finally understood the crucial difference between fitness, the ability of your body to perform tasks, and thinness, which was so often conflated with health, but was, in reality, largely about aesthetics and societal pressure. The statistic that hit me hardest, the one that echoed the silent screams of my past self, was that 95% of diets fail long-term. 95%. It wasn't a lack of willpower. It wasn't individual failing. It was a biological reality. Our bodies are designed to survive, and to them, significant weight loss often signals famine, triggering a host of compensatory mechanisms. All those years, I'd blamed myself, all that self-hatred. It was for fighting a battle I was almost biologically programmed to lose, at least in the way Revolution Fit and its ilk defined winning. One afternoon, I found myself wandering towards the campus gym. In my old life, the gym was a place of punishment, a penance for the food I'd eaten, a desperate attempt to shrink myself. I'd spent hours on the elliptical, mindlessly slogging away, eyes glued to the calorie counter, feeling nothing but dread and obligation. This time, I walked in with a different purpose. Not to change my body, but to explore it, to see what it felt like to move without judgment. I tentatively picked up a dumbbell. It felt good. The solid weight in my hand, the controlled effort of a bicep curl. I tried a few squats, focusing on the sensation of my muscles working, not on how many calories I was burning or whether my thighs jiggled. A strange thing happened. I enjoyed it. Strength training, when divorced from the relentless pursuit of thinness, felt empowering. It wasn't about making myself smaller, it was about making myself stronger. Back in my apartment, surrounded by printouts and scribbled notes, a new vision began to take shape. A business plan. A fitness concept that was the antithesis of Revolution Fit. Something revolutionary in its own right. Something that could compete with them, maybe even beat them, before they even truly launched their reign of toxic wellness. I knew their future strategies, their future branding, their future vulnerabilities, and I had 10 years of advanced marketing knowledge they hadn't even begun to acquire. The game was on. Walking into Mindstream Media for my first day felt surreal. It was the same building, the same slightly too cold air conditioning, the same hushed buzz of people trying to look busy. But I was different. The Olivia who had walked these halls in her previous life was timid, constantly second-guessing herself, desperate for approval. This Olivia, the one who had stared death in the face and been given an impossible second chance, carried a quiet confidence that was entirely new. It didn't take long for people to notice. In meetings, I spoke with an assurance that belied my junior status. I had insights that seemed almost precognitive. When discussing market trends or consumer behavior, I wasn't just guessing, I knew. I'd lived through the next 10 years of it. My suggestions were sharp, my understanding of digital landscapes years ahead of its time in 2015. Cassandra, not yet my direct boss but a senior manager with a reputation for being demanding, watched me with a curious glint in her eye. She was still all sharp angles and expensive minimalist dresses, her aura of cool ambition unchanged. I remembered the sting of her past criticisms, but now, instead of feeling intimidated, I felt a strange sense of detachment, almost like watching a character in a play whose lines I already knew. A few weeks into the job, Cassandra called a team meeting. "All right, people, new potential client on the table," she announced, clicking through a PowerPoint presentation. A small local gym chain, Chen Fitness. They're looking to expand, rebrand, the whole 9 yards. Decent existing client base, but their marketing is prehistoric. She scanned the room. Anyone particularly passionate about sweat? A few polite chuckles. In my old life, I would have shrunk back, avoided eye contact, terrified of being assigned something so far out of my perceived comfort zone. This time, my hand shot up. "I am," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I'd love to take the lead on this." Cassandra raised a perfectly sculpted eyebrow. "You, Morgan? Didn't peg you for a gym bunny." There was a faint, almost imperceptible sneer in her tone, the kind I was all too familiar with. "I see a lot of potential in the health and wellness space," I replied smoothly, ignoring the jibe. "Especially for brands that offer something different." The gym owner, James Chen, was a man in his late 40s, a former competitive weightlifter with a PhD in exercise physiology. He was built like a tank but had a surprisingly gentle demeanor. His gyms weren't flashy, they were functional, filled with free weights, squat racks, and open spaces for movement. A far cry from the boutique studios that were starting to become trendy. He believed in functional fitness, in building strength and mobility for real life, not just for aesthetics. His problem? He had no idea how to communicate that. His current marketing consisted of grainy photos of himself lifting heavy things and flyers with generic slogans like, "Get fit today." I sat across from him in his cluttered office, the smell of chalk and old leather heavy in the air. I didn't give him the standard agency pitch. I didn't talk about demographics or click-through rates, not at first. Instead, I talked about the feeling of alienation that so many people experienced in traditional fitness spaces. I talked about the tyranny of before and after photos, the obsession with weight loss, the shame-based messaging that permeated the industry. "There's a massive untapped market out there, James," I said, leaning forward. "People who want to be healthier, stronger, who want to feel good in their bodies, but who are completely turned off by the current narrative. People who are tired of being told they need to shrink themselves to be acceptable." Then, I pitched him my vision. A fitness brand that never ever mentioned weight loss. No before and after photos, no calorie counting, no mirrors on every wall reflecting perceived flaws. Instead, the focus would be on strength gains, improved mobility, better sleep, more energy, reduced stress, the actual tangible benefits of movement. Classes would be named for what you could do: lift, flow, play, not what body part you were trying to fix. James listened intently, his brow furrowed. He was an exercise scientist at heart. He understood the flaws in the aesthetic-driven fitness world. But he was also a businessman. "It's a nice idea, Olivia," he said finally, his voice skeptical. "A very idealistic idea. But will it sell? People want to lose weight. That's what gets them in the door." "Some do," I conceded. "But many more want to feel good, and they're being ignored. We can tap into that. We can build a community around empowerment, not shame." I took a breath. This was the risky part. "Let me develop a full marketing plan and a brand concept for you on spec. If you like it, if you see the potential, I don't just want Mindstream to be your agency. I want to be your business partner. I'll invest my own time. And if we can find a way, my own capital." He looked surprised. A junior exec offering a partnership? It was bold. But he also saw the conviction in my eyes. He saw that I didn't just believe in the idea, I was the idea. "All right, Olivia Morgan," he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You've got yourself a deal. Show me what you've got." My life became a whirlwind of Mindstream by day and my secret project by night. Sleep felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. Every spare moment was poured into fleshing out the vision, the brand, the business plan. I named it Empower Move. The name itself was a mission statement. It wasn't about punishing workouts or restrictive diets. It was about finding joy and strength in movement, about reclaiming the narrative around our bodies. And the business plan was my masterpiece. It was informed not just by my marketing expertise, but by my knowledge of the future. I knew how Revolution Fit would rise, their specific marketing funnels, their social media strategies, the way they leveraged influencer culture. I planned to counteract their every move, to build Empower Move on a foundation of authenticity and scientific integrity that would stand in stark contrast to their hype. I detailed a digital strategy that prioritized community building and user-generated content, focusing on realistic portrayals of diverse bodies enjoying movement. I outlined a content strategy that would educate people about intuitive eating, body neutrality, and the science of exercise, debunking the myths perpetuated by diet culture. I even projected financial models, factoring in the future growth of the wellness industry and the inevitable backlash against extreme fitness trends that I knew was coming. Meanwhile, in the periphery of my new old life, the pieces of the past were falling into place with an eerie familiarity. Maya Wilson and Ethan Reynolds, the golden couple of our high school, were now the golden couple of early social media. They'd started dating, their feeds filled with sun-drenched photos of their active lifestyle, hiking, beach workouts, acro yoga poses that looked more performative than practical. They were already posting short workout videos, grainy and unpolished compared to what Revolution Fit would eventually become. But the charisma was there, the aspirational quality that would hook so many. It was the embryonic stage of their future empire, and I watched it with a detached fascination, like a biologist observing a predictable pattern of growth. Vanessa, my roommate, was captivated. "Have you seen Maya and Ethan's videos?" she asked one evening, scrolling through her phone. "They're getting super popular. She's talking about getting certified as a trainer. Maybe I should too. It looks so fun, and they seem so happy." I just nodded, a knot tightening in my stomach. Yeah, they look happy. Happy selling an illusion. I saw Vanessa on the precipice of being drawn into their orbit, and a part of me wanted to scream, to warn her about the pressure, the obsession, the eventual disillusionment I knew she'd face in her future as a Revolution Fit star. But I couldn't. Not yet. She wouldn't believe me. And more importantly, I needed her journey to play out, at least for now. Her future experiences, however painful, would be crucial. At Mindstream, I was on fire. My work on the Chen Fitness account, which I was already internally rebranding as Empower Move in my presentations to James, was turning heads. I secured a promotion to marketing manager in just 3 months, a leap that had taken me 3 agonizing years in my previous life. My confidence was no longer an act. It was real, fueled by purpose and the secret knowledge I carried. Cassandra, however, was starting to notice more than just my stellar performance. She noticed the dark circles under my eyes, the way I sometimes rushed out right at 5, the vague excuses I made for not joining after-work drinks. "You're very ambitious, Morgan," she said one afternoon, her tone a careful blend of approval and suspicion. "But don't burn yourself out, and make sure your side projects aren't distracting you from your priorities here." The tension was subtle, but it was there. She saw a spark in me, a drive that mirrored her own, but she also sensed that my ambitions might not be entirely aligned with Mindstream's. She was right. My priority wasn't climbing the corporate ladder at Mindstream. My priority was building an empire of my own, an empire that would stand for something real. The seed of Empower Move had been planted. Now, it was time to make it grow. 1 year. It felt like a lifetime and no time at all. May 17th, 2016. Exactly 1 year since I'd woken up in my 22-year-old body. James Chen, true to his word and increasingly convinced by my vision and the meticulously detailed business plan I'd presented, had become more than just a client. He was my partner. We pooled our resources, his existing gym infrastructure and exercise science expertise, my marketing savvy, and a small inheritance I'd received in my previous life, which thankfully still existed in this one, tucked away in a savings account I'd forgotten about. We launched Empower Move in a modest studio space, one of James's smaller, underperforming locations that we renovated on a shoestring budget. There were no floor-to-ceiling mirrors designed to make you scrutinize every flaw. Instead, one wall featured a vibrant mural painted by a local artist, depicting people of all shapes and sizes moving with joy. There were no scales in the locker rooms, We didn't talk about bikini bodies or shredding for the wedding. Our class schedule was organized not by body parts to be fixed, no abs blast or booty builder here, but by intention and feeling. Foundations for learning fundamental movements, power for strength building, release for mobility and stress reduction, and play for more dynamic, fun-focused sessions. My marketing strategy was unlike anything the fitness industry had seen. I created content featuring diverse bodies, real bodies, with rolls and scars and cellulite, genuinely enjoying movement. Our social media wasn't about aspirational perfection, it was about relatable experiences. The messaging was relentlessly positive, focusing on what bodies could do rather than how they should look. I leveraged everything I'd learned about digital marketing in my future at Mindstream SEO, content marketing, social media engagement. But I redirected it. Instead of fueling insecurity to drive sales, I aimed to build a community founded on empowerment and self-acceptance. It was slow going at first. People were skeptical. No weight loss? But isn't that the point of a gym? Was a common refrain. But then, word started to spread. The people who came were often those who had felt excluded, intimidated, or shamed by traditional fitness environments. They found something different at Empower Move. They found a place where they could move their bodies without judgment, where they could focus on feeling good instead of looking a certain way. A loyal following began to develop, a community bound by a shared desire for a healthier, happier relationship with exercise. Meanwhile, just as I knew it would, Revolution Fit was starting its ascent. Maya and Ethan, with their photogenic appeal and relentless self-promotion, had secured their first significant round of seed investment. They were slicker now, more polished. Their branding was sharp, their promises bolder. They were all about transformation and crushing goals. Vanessa, my former roommate, was one of their earliest certified trainers. She'd drunk the Kool-Aid, her Instagram feed slowly morphing into a shrine to #Fitspo culture, full of ab selfies and motivational quotes about pushing past pain. We met for coffee occasionally, but the gap between our worlds was widening. She'd talk enthusiastically about her Revolution Fit clients' weight loss and her grueling workout schedule, her eyes shining with a fervor that worried me. "Liv, you should really incorporate some weight loss challenges or something at Empower Move," she'd say, genuinely trying to be helpful. "That's what people want. Your place is nice, but it's a bit soft, you know." I'd just smile and shake my head. "We're doing okay, Ness. Different approach." The two ideologies were already on a collision course. Revolution Fit, with its aggressive, shame-based marketing and promises of rapid, visible change, was the loud, flashy newcomer grabbing all the headlines. Empower Move was the quieter, steadier force, building something sustainable, something real. The battle for the soul of fitness had begun. 3 years. 3 years since that bewildering, miraculous awakening. It was 2018, and the Olivia Morgan of this timeline was almost unrecognizable from the one who had collapsed on her bathroom floor. I'd long since quit Mindstream Media, pouring every ounce of my energy and focus into Empower Move. The gamble, the leap of faith, was paying off. We now had 3 bustling Empower Move locations across the city. The small studio had grown and then grown again. Our digital platform, which I'd insisted on building from day one, was also gaining traction. We offered online classes, workshops on intuitive movement and body acceptance, and a supportive members-only forum that was refreshingly free of diet talk and body shaming. We weren't just a gym anymore. We were a community, a movement. Something I hadn't anticipated but was incredibly proud of was our partnerships with progressive healthcare providers. Doctors and therapists were starting to see the value in our approach, prescribing Empower Move programs not for weight loss, but for stress management, improved mood, and as a supportive tool for eating disorder recovery. Our model was even gaining academic attention. A local university began a study tracking our members, and the initial data was compelling. Empower Move participants showed significantly higher long-term adherence rates and reported greater improvements in mental well-being compared to those in traditional weight-focused fitness programs. We were proving that fitness could be a tool for healing, not just another source of pressure. But while Empower Move was growing steadily, organically, Revolution Fit was exploding. Fueled by seemingly endless streams of venture capital, their growth was meteoric, aggressive. Their marketing was everywhere, plastered on buses, dominating social media feeds, their message relentless. Transform yourself, get ripped, no excuses. Their ads were filled with dramatic before and after photos, suspiciously perfect transformations that I knew often involved strategic lighting, professional photography, and sometimes outright digital manipulation. They promised rapid results, quick fixes, the body of your dreams in weeks. And then they launched it, the Revolution Fit app. The very same app I remembered seeing advertised from my hospital bed in another life. It was just as I recalled, sleek, user-friendly, and packed with restrictive meal plans that often dipped into dangerously low calorie counts, coupled with punishing daily workout schedules that left little room for rest or recovery. It was a recipe for burnout, injury, and disordered eating, all packaged in a glossy, aspirational wrapper. Vanessa was now one of their star trainers. Her social media following had skyrocketed. She was the embodiment of the Revolution Fit ideal, perfectly sculpted, relentlessly positive, at least online, and constantly posting about no excuses and tough love. Her transformation photos, comparing her already slim college self to her current ultra-lean physique, were a cornerstone of their marketing. Knowing what I knew about the sustainability of such an extreme regimen, I worried about her, but she was caught in the Revolution Fit whirlwind, convinced she was changing lives, including her own, for the better. The contrast between Empower Move and Revolution Fit couldn't have been starker. Industry magazines and blogs started to pick up on it. We were the yin to their yang, the quiet rebellion against their noisy revolution. Empower Move, the anti-diet fitness club. Revolution Fit, get ready to suffer for your success. The lines were drawn. The talk of the industry wasn't just about fitness trends anymore. It was about philosophy, about ethics, about what it truly meant to be healthy. The announcement hit the fitness world like a thunderclap. Revolution Fit was launching a national ultimate transformation challenge. 12 weeks, a $100,000 grand prize, a contract to become their next spokesperson, to be plastered alongside Maya and Ethan in their next big marketing blitz. It was audacious, it was massive, and it was classic Revolution Fit. The marketing was inescapable. Maya and Ethan were on every morning talk show, their smiles dazzling, their energy infectious, promoting their life-changing program. They spoke of discipline, of pushing limits, of unlocking your true potential, all code for achieving a specific, narrowly defined body type. Social media was saturated with #Revolution Fit Challenge. The pressure to participate, to transform, was immense. It was Cassandra who brought it directly to my old turf. She was now a senior VP at Mindstream Media and, I learned with a sinking feeling, a devoted Revolution Fit client herself. She'd transformed, shedding 20 pounds and gaining a new level of sharp-edged intensity. She called a meeting with her old team, which still included some of my former colleagues. Her proposal? Mindstream Media should partner with Revolution Fit for a major corporate wellness campaign. They're the biggest name in fitness, she declared, her eyes shining with the zeal of a convert. This is aspirational. This is what people want. Someone in the meeting, aware of my connection to Empower Move, tentatively mentioned our company as a potential alternative, perhaps a more holistic option. Cassandra waved a dismissive hand. Empower Move? Oh, Olivia's little project. It's nice, quaint. But let's be realistic, it's niche. It's not aspirational enough for mainstream success. People want results they can see. Her words, meant to be cutting, instead sparked an idea. If Revolution Fit was throwing down a gauntlet, Empower Move would pick it up on our own terms. We couldn't compete with their prize money or their marketing budget, but we could compete on principle. We launched the Empower Move Anti-Challenge. Our campaign was the polar opposite of theirs, a 12-week program, yes, but with zero emphasis on physical transformation, no weigh-ins, no before and after photos focused on body changes. Instead, participants were encouraged to document their journey in other ways. Improvements in their sleep quality, increased energy levels, new strength milestones achieved, a more positive relationship with food, a greater sense of joy and movement. We provided journals, prompts, and a supportive online community to share these non-scale victories. Our tagline, transform your relationship with fitness, not your body. The response was immediate and passionate. It was as if a significant portion of the population had been waiting for permission to opt out of the transformation rat race. Our sign-ups surged. Then came the letter, cease and desist, from Revolution Fit's high-powered legal team. They claimed our anti-challenge disparaged their brand, infringed on their intellectual property, a laughable claim as if they owned the concept of a 12-week program, and was causing them financial harm. They demanded we immediately halt our campaign. My legal counsel advised caution. James was worried. Liv, they have deep pockets. This could get ugly. But I saw an opportunity. This wasn't just a legal threat, it was a gift. I took a photo of the letter, redacted the sensitive legal jargon, and posted it on Empower Move's social media channels with a simple caption. Apparently, empowering people to feel good about themselves without focusing on weight loss is disparaging. We respectfully disagree. The #Empower Move anti-challenge continues. #Empower not shame. It went viral, instantly. The story was picked up by blogs, then local news, then national outlets. The narrative was irresistible. David versus Goliath. The plucky, body-positive upstart versus the aggressive corporate fitness giant. People were outraged on our behalf. The hashtag #EmpowerNotShame started trending. The cease and desist backfired spectacularly, drawing massive attention to Empower Move and sparking a widespread conversation about toxic fitness culture and the practices of companies like Revolution Fit. We hadn't just launched an anti-challenge, we'd ignited a rebellion. The coffee shop was neutral territory, a small independent place halfway between the main Empower Move studio and the glittering flagship location of Revolution Fit, where Vanessa now held court as a senior master trainer. It had been years since we'd sat down like this, just the two of us, without the unspoken tension of our divergent paths hanging heavy in the air. She looked tired. Beneath the flawless makeup and the carefully curated athleisure outfit, there were shadows under her eyes, a brittleness to her smile that hadn't been there before. "Thanks for meeting me, Liv," she said, stirring her black coffee with a little too much force. "Of course, Ness. It's been too long." She fiddled with a sugar packet, not meeting my eyes. "Things have been a lot with Revolution Fit. With the challenge, your anti-challenge, all the media. It's definitely stirred things up," I agreed gently. Then it all came pouring out. The carefully constructed facade of the #Revolution Fit life crumbled. Vanessa admitted she was struggling, deeply. Maintaining her perfect physique, the one plastered on their marketing materials, required an extreme regimen of calorie restriction and punishing, twice-a-day workouts that was taking a severe toll on her physical and mental health. She was constantly exhausted, frequently injured, and her relationship with food had become obsessive and fearful. "It's not sustainable, Liv," she whispered, her voice cracking. "None of it is. Those before and afters, so many of them are manipulated. Strategic dehydration, spray tans, perfect lighting, sometimes even Photoshop. We're taught how to pose to maximize the transformation. And the trainers, we're under immense pressure to look the part all the time. Some of the girls are on stuff. Things to stay lean, to keep their energy up. It's messed up." My heart ached for her. This was the dark underbelly I'd always suspected, the inevitable consequence of their unsustainable promises. "I've thought about leaving," she continued, tears welling in her eyes. "So many times, but I'm trapped. I signed a non-compete that's so restrictive, I basically can't work in fitness anywhere else in the city for 2 years. And the money, Liv, the money is insane. I have a lifestyle now, a mortgage. I don't know how to get out." An idea, bold and perhaps a little crazy, formed in my mind. "What if you didn't have to get out alone?" I asked. "What if you could use your experience, your voice, to help people in a different way?" I leaned forward. "Come to Empower Move, Ness. Not just as a trainer, but as a leader. We could create a program, a platform for you to speak authentically about the harms of diet culture from the inside, to help people heal from the damage these unrealistic expectations cause. Your story is powerful." She stared at me, speechless, tears now openly streaming down her face. You'd do that? After everything? After how much I bought into their crap?" How I dismissed what you were doing? We all make mistakes, Ness, I said softly. The important thing is what we do next. Meanwhile, Revolution Fit's aggressive expansion was starting to show cracks beyond just the well being of its trainers. With so many new locations opening so quickly, quality control had become a major issue. Untrained or poorly trained instructors, pressure to push clients too hard too fast, it was a recipe for disaster. Reports of injuries at their studios were becoming more frequent, discussed in hushed tones in online fitness forums. And then the dam broke. A hugely popular fitness influencer, one with millions of followers, publicly detailed a terrifying medical emergency she'd experienced after following Revolution Fit's most extreme warrior shred program. She'd ended up hospitalized with rhabdomyolysis, a serious condition caused by muscle breakdown. The story exploded. Ethan and Maya, instead of expressing concern or promising an internal review, went on the defensive. Ethan released a tone-deaf video statement, essentially blaming the influencer for not following the program correctly and suggesting she might have had underlying conditions. The backlash was immediate and severe. Their carefully crafted image of caring, motivational leaders was shattering. The confrontation wasn't just between me and Vanessa anymore. It was between Revolution Fit and a public that was rapidly waking up. 5 years. It was now 2020. 5 years since I'd woken up with a second chance. Empower Move wasn't just a little project anymore. We were a respected, thriving business, a significant player in the national fitness industry. We had studios in multiple states, our digital platform was booming, and our message of body positivity and joyful movement was resonating deeply. Revolution Fit, on the other hand, had reached that dizzying pinnacle of mainstream success I remembered so vividly from my previous life. They were a household name, a billion-dollar behemoth. But their foundation, built on hype and unsustainable promises, was beginning to tremble. The cultural conversation around health, fitness, and body image had shifted, partly thanks to the dialogue our competing philosophies had sparked. People were asking more questions, demanding more transparency. It was in this climate that Forbes magazine decided to do a major feature, Fitness Feud or Future, two competing visions for a healthier nation. They wanted to profile Empower Move and Revolution Fit side by side, and they wanted a roundtable interview with me, Maya, and Ethan. My team was nervous. Are you sure about this, Olivia? They'll play dirty. I'm sure, I said. This was an opportunity, not a threat. The interview took place in a sleek, modern television studio. Maya and Ethan arrived with an entourage, looking every bit the fitness celebrities tanned, toned, and radiating an almost aggressive confidence. I arrived with James, my partner, my rock. The discussion started predictably. The moderator asked about our philosophies. Maya, ever the polished performer, dismissed Empower Move's approach with a condescending smile. Honestly, it sounds a bit like giving up. We believe in pushing people to achieve their best, to transform. Promoting obesity isn't helping anyone. Ethan chimed in, flexing his bicep almost unconsciously. It's about discipline. People who don't transform their bodies, who don't get the results, they simply lack the commitment. Our program works for everyone who truly commits. My moment. I took a calm breath. Actually, Ethan, I said, my voice even but firm, that's not entirely true. I know your program doesn't work for everyone, because I was one of those people. A hush fell over the studio. Maya's smile faltered. Ethan looked momentarily confused. Years ago, I continued, looking directly at them, before Empower Move, I was a Revolution Fit customer. I bought into the hype. I did the workouts, I followed the meal plans, and when I didn't get the dramatic results you promised, when I couldn't sustain the restrictive lifestyle, I blamed myself. I thought I was lazy, undisciplined, a failure, just like millions of your other customers who feel the same way. I then calmly, clearly presented the research. I spoke about metabolic adaptation, the science of weight set points, the psychological harm of weight stigma and constant dieting, the incredibly high failure rate of restrictive diets. I talked about the importance of joyful movement, intuitive eating, and focusing on genuine health markers beyond weight. I wasn't accusatory, I was factual. I wasn't emotional, I was evidence-based. Maya tried to interject, to talk about their community and support, But her arguments sounded hollow against the backdrop of scientific data and my personal testimony. When she repeated her claim that the program works for anyone who truly commits, I simply said, the problem isn't with the people, Maya. It's with a program that sets people up to fail and then blames them for it. The exchange was electric. When the interview aired, that segment went viral. #Empower Not Shame roared back to life on social media. Thousands upon thousands of people began sharing their own negative experiences with Revolution Fit and other similar programs. The injuries, the disordered eating, the crushing blows to their self-esteem. My story, the story of a former failed customer who had gone on to build a successful, empowering alternative, resonated deeply. It wasn't just a business feud anymore. It was a movement demanding change. The exposure was no longer just about Empower Move. It was about the dark side of an entire industry. The fallout from the Forbes interview and the subsequent social media storm was swift and brutal for Revolution Fit. It was as if a dam had burst. The glossy veneer they had so carefully constructed for years cracked and then shattered. Former employees, emboldened by the changing public sentiment and perhaps by Vanessa's now public alignment with Empower Move, she had, after much soul-searching, accepted my offer and was tentatively beginning to share her story, started coming forward. They spoke of a toxic workplace culture, of relentless pressure to maintain unrealistic physiques, of unethical sales tactics, and of being encouraged to give advice far beyond their qualifications. Customers, feeling validated and angry, began sharing screenshots of problematic advice from the Revolution Fit app. Meal plans with dangerously low calorie recommendations, exercise routines that medical professionals deemed unsafe, and dismissive responses from customer service when concerns were raised. Respected doctors and nutritionists who had long been wary of Revolution Fit's methods began to speak out more forcefully, condemning their approach as unscientific and potentially harmful. Then came the documentary. A well-regarded investigative journalist had been quietly working on a piece about manipulation and misinformation in the fitness industry, and the Revolution Fit saga became a central focus. Vanessa, her voice trembling but resolute, appeared in the film, sharing insider knowledge about their internal practices, the pressure on trainers, and the misleading marketing. She spoke of the before and after photo shoots, the scripts they were given, the way they were taught to deflect difficult questions about sustainability and health risks. Her testimony was devastatingly credible. Revolution Fit's stock price, which had been soaring, began to plummet. Class action lawsuits were filed by customers alleging false advertising, harmful advice, and undisclosed risks. Sponsors started to pull away. The empire was crumbling. Ethan, ever the front man, attempted damage control. He released another video, this one an apology or an attempt at one. It was a disaster. He looked flustered and insincere, blaming a few rogue trainers and misunderstandings. He talked more about the company's financial losses than the harm caused to individuals. The public saw right through it, and the backlash intensified. #Revolution Flop started trending. In the midst of this chaos, I received a call from an unlisted number. It was Maya. Her voice was stripped of its usual confidence, sounding small and shaken. She wanted to meet, privately. We met in a quiet corner of a hotel lounge. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Olivia," she began, twisting a napkin in her hands. This is a nightmare." She paused, then got straight to the point. "Revolution Fit we're in trouble, serious trouble. We want to make you an offer. We want to buy Empower Move. We'll pay you whatever you want. We can integrate your approaches. You can help us fix this, help us rebrand. We can make Revolution Fit better, together." I listened patiently. When she was finished, I looked her in the eyes. "Maya," I said, my voice gentle but firm, "what you're proposing isn't a genuine ideological shift. It's a lifeboat. You don't want to change your core philosophy, you want to salvage your brand by attaching it to ours. Empower Move isn't for sale, especially not to become a band-aid for Revolution Fit." She stared at me, her face ashen. The reckoning had arrived, and there were no easy exits. 10 years, May 17th, 2025. A decade. An entire lifetime lived twice over. This was it. The point where my previous life had abruptly, tragically ended. But this Olivia Morgan wasn't gasping her last breaths on a cold bathroom floor. This Olivia Morgan was standing on a stage, addressing a packed auditorium at the National Wellness Conference. Empower Move had not just survived, it had revolutionized the fitness industry. We had grown to 250 locations nationally, each one a sanctuary of joyful movement and body acceptance. Our digital platform boasted millions of subscribers worldwide, a vibrant global community built on support, not shame. Our approach, once dismissed as niche and quaint, had profoundly influenced the broader cultural landscape. Healthcare providers now routinely discussed exercise in terms of mental well-being and functional health, not just weight management. Athletic wear campaigns increasingly featured diverse body types. The very language used to talk about fitness and body size was shifting, becoming more inclusive, more compassionate. I had become an accidental thought leader, a voice for a more humane approach to health. I consulted with healthcare systems looking to implement more holistic wellness programs, spoke at conferences like this one, and even advised on public health initiatives. My body, it had changed, yes. Years of consistent, enjoyable strength training had made me stronger, more toned. But I was still roughly the same size I had been when I started this journey in my 22-year-old body, a size 14, maybe a 16 on a bloated day. And I was utterly, completely, profoundly at peace with that. My worth was not and had never been tied to a number on a scale or a dress label. Revolution Fit, as I knew it, no longer existed. After a messy bankruptcy and a string of legal battles, the brand had been sold. The new ownership, wisely, had undertaken a radical rebranding. Their new model, ironically, borrowed heavily from Empower Move's philosophy, focusing on holistic health, body neutrality, and sustainable practices. Maya and Ethan had faded from the public eye, their empire reduced to a cautionary tale in business textbooks. A few weeks before the conference, I'd received an email that made me pause. The address was familiar, Cassandra_Marshall at mindstream.media, my former boss. The email was hesitant, almost sheepish. She wrote that she'd been struggling with her own health issues, adrenal fatigue, joint problems, a host of complications stemming from years of extreme dieting and obsessive exercise, the very lifestyle Revolution Fit had championed and she had so fervently embraced. She was tired of fighting her body. She asked humbly if I would consider meeting her for coffee. She wanted to talk about possibly joining an Empower Move program. The irony wasn't lost on me, but there was no triumph in it, only a quiet sadness for the years she, and so many others, had wasted. I replied and agreed to meet. Everyone deserved a chance to find peace. Vindication wasn't about seeing my old tormentors fall. It was about seeing a fundamental shift in understanding. It was about witnessing people reclaim their relationship with their bodies, finding joy in movement, and freeing themselves from the shackles of diet culture. That was the true victory. My 32nd birthday, the day I died in my previous life. Instead of a solitary, regret-filled end, I was surrounded by laughter, warmth, and the vibrant energy of the community I had built. We were celebrating at the original Empower Move studio, the small space that had been the genesis of it all, friends, family, my incredible Empower Move team, and many of our earliest members were there. My mother, who had once worried that Empower Move was encouraging people to be unhealthy, was now my biggest cheerleader, proudly telling anyone who would listen about her daughter, the revolutionary. James, my steadfast partner and friend, raised a glass. "To Olivia," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "for her vision, her tenacity, and for teaching us all that true strength isn't just about how much you can lift, but about how much you can lift others." I looked around the room at the smiling faces, the easy camaraderie. My rebirth hadn't just been about saving myself. It had been about creating a space, a movement, that could potentially save countless others from the physical and psychological harm I knew so intimately. It was about changing the narrative, one person, one workout, one moment of self-acceptance at a time. Later in the evening, we had a small symbolic ceremony. For years, we'd collected discarded scales, diet books, and other paraphernalia of toxic fitness culture. An artist friend had transformed this pile of negativity into a stunning sculpture, a testament to resilience and transformation of a different kind. Tonight, I had one final piece to add. I picked up a sleek digital bathroom scale, identical to the one that had flashed in 215 inches at me in what felt like another dimension. I wasn't stepping on it to weigh myself. Its power over me was long gone. Instead, I walked over to the sculpture and gently placed it on the pile. As I stepped back, I caught a glimpse of someone hovering nervously by the studio entrance. It was Maya Wilson. She looked different, softer, lines of stress etched around her eyes, but with a flicker of something new, something uncertain but determined. She clutched an Empower Move guest pass in her hand. Our eyes met. I smiled, a genuine, welcoming smile. She took a tentative step inside. Full circle. The journey wasn't over. It was always beginning, and this time, everyone was invited.